right. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for man species. Greetings, all. Today we're going to talk real briefly here about the kinds and the species and all this crap. That's kind of a non-argument with having to do with Noah's flood and stuff like this. You know, people want to say that, oh, the animals ain't going to fit on the boat and all this crap. Okay. What we know about biology is that, you know, a lot of times these species are all interfertile, and they really don't know how to classify things, and they have all these different deals over here about what's going to fit into what little box, and that seems to be there doesn't seem to be any metrics that they use for this. So every single one of these here, you got life, domain, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. As far as where the biblical kinds are, as where I look through all of these, it seems like to me, it could be really any one of them. Below the kingdom, I mean, if you're going to say the animal kingdom, okay, well, we'll go down to phylum. And we'll look through these here, and you can see that the definitions of these are like Jello. You can put whatever you want to and just kind of say that's what your new classification is. We'll have all four-legged animals will be in this new phylum, right? And the proof of that is right in their own definitions. In biology, a species is one of the basic units of biological classification and taxonomic rank. A species is often defined as the largest group of organisms capable of interbreeding and producing fertile offspring. Well, that right there puts species like all the way up at class, if they actually went by that definition, or family. But who knows? I've gone to each of these different order family things and phylums, and there is no concrete anything. You know, like you go into phylum and they put walnut trees in a phylum. And it's like, well, those could all be the same species, right? I'd think so. So it links over here to the species problem, which essentially says that nobody knows what a species is and nobody knows how to define it. So when people talk about the biblical kinds, if you can't even define your species, what are you complaining about the creationists and their biblical kinds? And you got to understand, I mean, probably people that are creationists and answers in Genesis and those guys should probably try to come up with a biblical kind and kind of stick by it, because it seems to come up so often that it'd be nice to have something to go to. But I could understand why they haven't, because creation science is a new phenomenon. I mean, before 1900, everybody believed the Bible. It's only once the evolution made it into the public education in about the 60s that this is really even a problem. So people working the creation angle of this now seem to have to try and validate the Bible. And it's disappointing. So they're going to be on the back step there, but you know, science hasn't really done any better in all the years that it's been trying to classify things. Everyone's got their own system. So this is their biological classification system, which I think is funny. If you go to the actual wiki page for what this little tree orange thing here is, they don't even link to all the different things. So it's like they don't even know, right? They kind of just a general overview. Well, you know, you got kingdoms and families and species, because those have some pretty good definitions. But all these other ones, phylum, classes, and orders, no, not really. You can pretty much remove those and go straight from kingdom straight down to family. And these other ones just seem like they're in there to kind of, you know, somebody wants to work with a particular group of critters. You know, you can put jungle critters. We'll put them into the phylum of jungle critters. You know, it's a completely man-made garbage. And now they're starting to use microbiology, which is probably a good thing. Why don't they classify them if you're 99% or above the same critter? Then that's the biblical kind. I think I would roll with that. Well, we'll go through here. Here's the class. And we go through what their examples are and the history of the concept. So you don't even have a definition because they don't want to stick to a definition. Often there is no exact agreement. You see this statement in every single one of these things, other than people understand what life is. But once you get into domain, there's some, discussion about what animals are going to fit into what, especially with bacteria. I mean, I just put bacteria in its own category, but whatever. Kingdoms, phylums, and classes, there is no exact agreement. And people want to get on the creationists about what is a biblical kind. Well, hell, you don't even know what a species is, much less a family or order or class or phylum. And you get to the animal kingdom, you can kind of figure that one out, right? Either you're an animal or you're a plant. Here's the domain, one of the very top ones here, where they figure out that, I guess wherever it lives, exclusion of viruses. Oh, we don't like viruses. We got a different domain for those guys. No, it's clear as mud. We got nice little pictures, though, in the tree of life. Here we got the order. And we got the phylum here. The phylum is probably where biblical kinds would rest. See, we got how many definitions here? Here's the general description. And then here's a definition based on genetic relation. And then we got another one here on body plan. Whatever that means. Totally subjective garbage. Genetic relation, I like that one. But down here, I think they're only going by like 90% closeness, which is not nearly enough. But it's by your DNA. And, there you go. If they get to this, then, yeah, I'm right with that. We can say that a biblical kind is probably going to be a phylum as classified by genetics, which puts you way up here, right? You're not down here with the species. You're way up here. Is your biblical kind. So you talk about how many things Noah had to have on the boat. And they say, he's going to have millions of species. No, he isn't. He's going to have, a few thousand things. And it's only the land animals, air-breathing land animals. And if you can relate it to, 99% genetic similarities and interfertile, we can put them up here in the phylum. That's where your kind is probably going to be. Yeah, you can maybe say class, but they don't know what a class is. Nor do they know what an order is. They know kind of family. Family, they get your dog family. But they call it, they have some Greek word to call it that. So that's where you're at. You skip all this other crap. All of man's little designations there. Here's your order, which they don't know really what it is. There's no definition. It's kind of a subjective thing, a history, a concept. Yeah, no definitions listed. And I'm sure a science book is going to have a definition, but then the next version of the science book comes out and it's going to be different. Here's family. Again, no definition. Just the history of where the family comes from. All right. And it just says its definition is essentially it's a classification between order and genus. Well, that tells me a lot. And they use this example of hickory and walnut trees being the same family, commonly known as the walnut family. Well, isn't that nice? Kind of like the Walton family or something. But they also use this same walnut family thing up in order. Now, this is the biblical kinds. You get, if you search for it in Wiki, you get barmenology, which is a term I've never heard before. So essentially, it just means we're not even going to bother putting anything on it. And they make it, it's the creationist system. Like it's some kind of eerie, they even put pseudoscience in here. Yeah, pseudoscience. And it's like, well, regular scientific classification you would call pseudoscience because there isn't any science behind that either. It's someone's opinion, whether it be based on DNA, based on what the animal looks like, based on whether or not it woofs or it meows. They're all classified by men. It's a pseudoscience too. There isn't any science behind it. They decide what the markers are going to be for what their classification is. It's the same thing. So there really is no argument here when you get down to the species and kinds things. There's a little bit of it on Answers in Genesis, but not really good enough to make any kind of an argument with. This is more just a a quick vid to show that nobody knows what a species is, family is, a genus is, a class is. Everyone uses their own little dictionary when it comes to that. So you want to be mad about, a million animals on the ark. That ain't the case. It's different classifications, okay? Just different classification systems. You get to heaven, you can ask God what his classification system is as far as what's a fish and what's a horse and what's a cat and a dog and whatever you want to do. It's totally subjective. And what I'll point out here with the kinds and evolution as far as species go, according to the definition of species, a mule is not related to a horse or a donkey because it cannot produce offspring. And they say, well, no, that's ridiculous. I mean, obviously, if the mule came from a horse and a donkey, it's related to it, but it doesn't produce offspring. And here's your problem with evolution: is how do you end up with all of these different animals if sexual reproduction is completely out? Because even if you do manage to mate something that are so dissimilar, you end up with a genetic loss. And that's the reason that the mule cannot mate with anything, is because it doesn't have the genes. And there can only be male mules. I think it's incredibly rare if you have a female one. But yeah, if you can't pass on your genes, that means that, if you're too dissimilar, that means that if you mutate too far, you got to have someone with the same mutation in order to even pass it on. Otherwise, you just die. And here's a perfect example: is the mule. And there are a million other ones. There are like rabbits and squirrels and all that crap, all kinds of rodents that do the same thing. So this is your kinds. This is as far as you can possibly go in the horse kind, is the mule, before things are too dissimilar. Right there. How you want to classify this stuff is going to be up to you, but the whole what is a species, what is a kind argument isn't an argument. You're arguing a Jello mold of something that can fit into any kind of classification you want to. I mean, let's just say that all animals that are brown can go in the brown classification. The ugly classification for the ugly animals. It doesn't mean anything. So don't let anyone tell you that Noah's Ark is impossible because of the animals on the boat. You got to ask them, well, what animals do you think are going to be on the boat? Birds ain't on the boat. They fly. It's land-dwelling, air-breathing animals. And it rules out, all kinds of crap. And then when it's basically you got your mammals left, I think. Maybe some lizards and things, the ones that aren't skin-breathing. Yeah. So that's about all I got here. Just, it's clear as mud. What I will add is that no one considers the humans a species, we're a kind. We are mankind. Mankind. Where did that come from? Mankind. It came from the Bible. So that's when people talk about mankind. Even Star Trek goes into the, go where no one has gone before and all that crap. Talks about mankind. No one says man species. And I'll add that we are the only kind. Man is supreme above everything else. There is nothing even remotely close to man on the planet. Now, don't let anyone tell you you're a monkey, because there are a lot of monkeys out there. A lot of different types of apes, a lot of different types of monkeys, probably all related down to a few different groups way back when, in the old biblical days. But humans have always been the flippin' same since creation. There is nothing like us on the planet. Don't get roped into these semantic arguments about species and kinds. With that, I'm out of here.